Let's go.
Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast, where we expand your personal universe. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in each episode, Soul Fam co-founder, co-creator Lexi Strummer-Solden and I interview the world's most rising and longtime experts in consciousness, spirituality, entertainment, healing, and science. From Earth's dimensions and dimensions way, way beyond. On the Soul Fam podcast, our frequencies are high and your heart chakras will open as these powerful voices of today share cutting-edge research, profound experiences, and valuable knowledge for your world in this out-of-this-world, thought-provoking, envelope-pushing interviews that could only take place right here on the Soul Fam podcast. Welcome to the Soul Fam podcast. Today, we interview Julia Balaz, who is a galactic astrologer. Julia has a really interesting skill set, one that I'm personally really fascinated with. She does galactic astrology and shares what can be very interesting information and really helpful information to individuals about their astrological charts based on their starseed originations. Would that be correct, Julia?
Yeah, there is a lot of that in it. We can go deeper into when we get to talk about what galactic astrology exactly is. But yeah, we look at the star origin markings, but not just that, the continuation of the evolutionary soul journey. We are so ancient. There's so much in our soul history. So we'll look at it all.
So you're based in Ireland, is that correct?
That's right. Yes.
And how has your interest in galactic astrology and astrology in general started? What was your interest in all of that?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me onto this podcast. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for offering space for me to talk about galactic astrology and how it's evolving. So I was interested in astrology. I started to become interested in my early teens. I had access to books in a huge city library, and I would always somehow find myself in that section on esoterics and psychological and all kind of weird stuff. But astrology books were there too. And I was always deeply fascinated by deep psychology and why we are the way we are. I was always very self-reflective and very observing of my environment. And if you look at my natal chart, it's all over there that I am kind of naturally driven to explore those concepts. So for a long time, I was looking at astrology in order to deeper or better understand myself and my immediate environment.
And so did you start doing astrology just as a student? Was it immediately parlayed into working with clients, or did you just sort of selfishly hold it for your own purposes?
Yeah, I didn't get to study astrology professionally. I'm self-taught, and what I did become certified in is quantum healing hypnosis technique by Dolores Cannon. And I started facilitating the regression hypnosis sessions to help my clients find answers to whatever issues they were struggling with, to find healing and to kind of help to understand their own life better. So it entails me paying attention, listening to their entire life stories. The interview is quite comprehensive in this with this particular technique, and then holding space for them to go into altered states of consciousness, regressing to states of being where they can access their own hidden emotional memories that may be influencing their patterns in life, their behavioral patterns. So very much working with their subconscious and exploring how they're wired, witnessing it. And then because I was fascinated by astrology in my own time, I would then study their natal charts. I was always asking my clients for their birth details for this particular reason. And so kind of exploring galactic astrology happened naturally on its own in the progress of me working with clients one-on-one through the hypnotic regressions, and really just admiring the uniqueness of each individual, yet over time, over many years, over many, many hundreds of people, seeing patterns with certain personalities and certain soul histories, and then seeing the patterns also astrologically. Because naturally, if you have access to a huge amount of data, the patterns will kind of start coming out. And there is such a beautiful thing with the synchronicities in our life that, I was holding space for other people to receive help, but I feel like I was also taught and evolving through life itself by, witnessing these experiences and noticing how certain issues or themes or topics were coming in clusters with multiple clients booked in a space of a week or two, all talking about the same things. So that helped me beautifully see the collective patterns based on astrological transits on the day or on the week, but also their galactic astrology connections, and then seeing it in their personality. So that was just, it was such a rich experience where I was able to observe huge amount of information from multiple angles, and then kind of putting things together. Eventually, after year 6 or 7, things started really making more sense, to the point where I felt so excited about what I'm seeing that I started sharing that information with my clients, and I started looking at their charts before their sessions, so that I was kind of prepared to then kind of almost look out for the clues in their stories and their information. And I would then say, actually, what you're experiencing or what you're going through is precisely in your natal astrological chart. So you're beautifully aligned with kind of your soul's plan for this incarnation. So it was very, very beautiful. And that's how I started receiving encouragement from people to tell them more. And naturally, as I started noticing that I'm just repeating myself, and it takes such a long time to explain these concepts, that the best way to do this was putting courses together where you can structure everything properly and people can take their own time with it. So that's kind of how it all started.
So when you were doing the hypnotherapy work, and am I sort of guessing that in doing it as a means of quantum work, it not only went very deep, but it allowed people to transition forward very quickly?
Yes. There are so many different ways how we can go with this answer, but there certainly was a phenomenon that I started noticing, and I had access to the QHHD practitioners online forum where many hundreds of these practitioners were chatting to what is happening. And it was around, well, just around the 2020, when we started noticing that our clients are regressing very deep, almost like spontaneously. I even had several clients who regressed while they were still seated during the interview. When they talk about certain things, suddenly I actually noticed they are in another lifetime, talking about different places and different times. So it was amazing to see. And I believe it is because collectively, for a couple of decades now, since the 60s, increasing amount of people are either regressing through hypnosis, or doing deep meditative states, or psychedelics. I would say there has never been this many people on earth that are exploring these altered states of consciousness. So I believe there is a side effect to it, where it's becoming easier for others to access these states of consciousness. It's like that 100 monkey effect that we're collectively experiencing. But it also comes hand in hand with the astrological transits and the alignments of certain planets going through certain zodiac signs, where, like, for example, Saturn in Pisces or Neptune in Pisces, they're very strong influencers on the collective consciousness, making it easier for us to access that dreamy state or altered state, connecting to the quantum field, recalling past lives, even spontaneously. So it was quite amazing to see that. And the pattern also that started occurring to me was that people were regressing to lifetimes that weren't earthly, where the atmosphere they were describing was obviously completely different planet, different star system. Their bodies were not human-like bodies. There are all kinds of different shapes and forms. So it was like a whole year when I started being exposed to souls journeying through other star systems, other planets, even experiencing themselves as aspects of a star or aspect of a planet, and what that's like. So I can kind of, as a witness to that, I believe wholeheartedly that the planets and stars are conscious living beings, and
Huh.
it's not just inanimate objects, you know.
So your clients would see themselves almost like as a speck of a star or a speck of a planet?
With the regression hypnosis, it's more about the emotional experience of it, and feeling deeply connected to whatever they're zooming into. So that it's more like a knowing. You know that you are a star, and then you describe what it feels like and what you're perceiving from that perspective. So they would describe their utter awareness of all the other stars in space and how they actually telepathically kind of communicate with each other and feel into each other, and how they would be able to sense when there was something going on in certain parts of space, and they were setting their loving positive energy towards the area that needed healing or needed love. And many of them would have experience knowing that there's a planet Earth, and it is calling for that kind of help. It's calling for light, it's calling for love, it's calling for attention in order to heal and uplift the entire collective that is here. And they felt like actually they volunteered, or like they sent fractals of their own being to support that
Wow.
experience. So that was always beautiful to see, and there was always many emotions when they realized that.
So fractals of their own being, can you explain that a little bit? I think I understand it, but I think our listeners would be.
If you can imagine highly advanced consciousness that is a star, it emanates so much light, it's massive. Our sun is really quite small. There are so many stars that are way, way, way bigger. So just imagine what it is like to be that, and that somehow you have an ability to send a piece of your light to incarnate into a physical form, into a human body, or kind of descend through densities into lower density, into physicality. And there is assistance of other highly evolved beings to for us to do that, where so many people who either regressed through life between lives, where they're kind of planning their incarnations, they would have said that there are these guardians, beings of light, who are like the watchers of time, or they kind of innately understand the fabric of universal organizations and law.
What was
So
that,
we have
Julia?
these guides that help us to kind of,
Did
first of all, understand what we are up to, what we are
Did you say
putting
there's a
ourselves
boot
into,
camp or a
and
training?
then
Was
give
that
us
what
a
you said before you
selection
come
of
to
what
Earth?
we
There's
want
some
to
sort of
experience and why we want to experience it.
training
Like there is a process to go through
preparation.
before incarnating on a planet like Earth. So that has been witnessed by many people through regression, or to even people who had near death experience. What was the last thing you heard? Preparation. Yes, bootcamp would be a really good word for it. Many people would have described it like that, where there were stories that I would have kind of witnessed facilitating as a regression hypnotist, of people seeing multiple souls being what looked like a classroom, another soul at the front, teaching them or explaining to them what Earth is like before they come in. I have that experience in my own soul records, where was at the front of that classroom. Many people who regress to life between lives have described an experience of being prepared to what it's like to be on Earth, especially first timers, to Earth. Those that have been here multiple times didn't have as extensive of a process, but the first timers would have reported that it felt like they're sitting in a classroom, they're aware that there are other souls next to them, and this is a non-physical experience. So you wouldn't report on seeing human bodies or physical bodies. It's more like a light bodies that are receiving a download or transmission from another being that is highly advanced, that is trying to explain what it is like to be on Earth, that is not as easy as they may perceive or think from the star system or planet where they're coming from, where the duality issues and what we're experiencing here are not present at all. There are so many different varieties of collective experiences in other systems. Some are very, very much feeling like utopian civilizations or feeling like heaven. Those are one of the nicest moments actually witnessing where people connected to wherever they came from, and it was a incarnation of a higher density. Again, they didn't have physical bodies, but they felt like a sphere of light. They had particular colors within their sphere, and they were aware of other spheres of light. They could shapeshift in order to kind of connect with the living being of the planet that they were inhabiting, but there was telepathic communication, and there was just pure love, pure unconditional love, working together. So a lot of these types of beings, when they feel utterly connected to the entire cosmos, if they feel that there is a part of the entire organism of the universe that is suffering, that needs help, they naturally are giving. They want to help. They want to send themselves to offer support, because they understand it's temporary. You come in, you live a speck of life in terms from their perspective that is more timeless. Like, so they feel like, okay, I'm just going on a little mission to do this, and I'll be back, you guys. See you soon. But it's much, much harder when they get here.
It's much, much harder to be here on Earth than it is in other planets or other galactic experiences.
Yes. Yes.
No, you're kidding. Can we go back to boot camp, please?
I know. I think I was sent here to be humbled, because honestly, if you go to the boot camp and you're like, yeah, I got this. I know. You're not taking notes. You're like, I have a feeling if I was in that boot camp, I was too arrogant and didn't take notes and thought I totally had it, and then got here. It's like, oh no.
Beautifully said. You know what the biggest problem with all this is, I believe, from the observation that while in the boot camp, they let you feel the emotion of, I don't know, despair or anger or sadness, grief. You feel it, but just for a split moment. And like this, that's what you'll feel at that, during that stage of your journey. So you're like, yeah, I'm grand, because you don't realize how that when you're here, you feel it for extended amount of time, and it feels so long, sometimes even for years. We can't get over grief. So it's like they tell you, but you don't realize it experientially until you get here. So yeah.
You don't. And can you tune into like mission control where you're like, guys, I need help. Any advice here? Is this right? I had a moment where I was sitting on my porch with two cats who were on leashes, and I was like, is this right? Just kind of looking up at the stars. Like, I've got two cats on leashes. I'm sitting on a porch. There's somebody like screaming over there. Like, am I doing this right? Do your clients ever have, am I doing this right moments where they just don't know what the hell they're doing?
Yes, 100%. And that's kind of the eternal question of a QHHD client. What's my purpose? What's my mission? They all look for validation if they're aligned or not. And they all, through the experiences, when they connect to their own higher self, when they kind of remember who they really are in their own essence, rather than the projections of all the expectations of the environment, when they connect to their essence, they suddenly realize it's actually much simpler. We are overcomplicating it with our own mind. It's really about anchoring more love, more compassion, more understanding, more peace, kind of helping us align to be more in harmony with nature and the entire cosmos, be more inclusive, and all those things. So it's more about kind of frequency of being rather than doing anything in particular. Many clients would have been asking about, what exactly are they meant to be doing? And they were shown multiple options. They would have kind of experienced it through regression. And the common denominator was the feeling or the way the way they felt throughout each of these paths. They were very different, but the point was that they were carrying that certain frequency that was making difference in all these paths. So it doesn't really need to be something very specific, like I came here to write X amount of books or to invent this and that. It's really about whatever you choose to do, what is the frequency that you broadcast around you that impacts others, where they can catch on and be like, okay, this is the better way, or kind of lead by example of being. And the details are more like arbitrary. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Completely. I still want a to-do list.
Good. Same here.
I'm scared.
But this is where galactic.
I'm scared. What if it's like
this is where
it's scary, but are you ever like, okay, you were Lexi, you were part of this like bad galactic civilization, and you were like the biggest jerk in the entire cosmos, and everybody hates you, and you need to make it right, not only on Earth, but like do you ever run into people who have just, they realize or something that there's massive amounts of karma to rectify?
Yes, very rarely, very rarely. I would maybe count maybe up to 10, maybe a handful of clients that were shown really difficult, bitter experiences that felt very, very heavy. But we were then guided to look before they became bitter and angry and hateful and vengeful. Who were they before they turned like that? And there was always a story of them being exposed to hatred and disappointment and horrible, horrible hurt from the environment they were in. It's like they were trained to become that way through horrible things that happened to them. So that's then how they resolve this and heal this, by remembering the light and love who they were before that journey of descending to hell of their own being, and then kind of remembering the beautiful light and amazing star soul family that was waiting for them all along to remember and to return to their natural way of being. So those were pretty powerful transformational experiences.
So do all of us have a starseed background?
I believe so, because even if not through our own soul journey, like I'm yet to come across someone who is purely earth soul based. I believe, first of all, that our human DNA has been tinkered with, and we have multiple galactic races within our own human genes. So that alone answers the questions that we all are connected to stars. Second of all, Earth herself has a lot of cosmic physical material, whether it's water that has been exposed to comets that fell here, or however originally Earth was created. Like, there is a connection to cosmos in one way or another. But certainly through our human DNA, if we go back to every single ancient civilization, like the oldest known records that we have, if you look at the archaeology, every single one of them has records of extraterrestrial beings. So I believe we are all connected to stars, and we now live in an age and time where we are meant to remember what was suppressed collectively and embrace our galactic heritage, but ground all that wisdom and amazingness here on Earth, because we came here to support planetary ascension. like doing something as a collective, which I believe is helping to heal and create greater harmony and connectivity in the entire galaxy and cosmos. I firmly believe, based on the observations that I have, that what we're doing here, or what we are attempting here as a collective from multiple star systems and planets, and actually also galaxies as we're exploring now, as I believe there are many souls here that came from other galaxies too. So it's very universal, massive project that we are all participating in. And I believe we are meant to recall the difficult parts of galactic histories, bring them into physical human awareness, and then use our developing connection to our higher selves, to the source of our being, to heal those soul records and restore greater peace, balance, and harmony in the entire cosmos as a result of that. I think it's very powerful when a human being goes through experience like that. And I believe that's why it's happening to so many people, like worldwide, especially with the way my attention is directed, that I'm aware of so many groups and like hundreds of thousands of people that are going through these types of recalls of galactic soul history, feeling the emotion, healing it, and restoring peace in their own being, accepting what was, and feeling kind of starting to become excited about what is possible when we are connect through love. So hope that resonates.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Is it so? Are we sort of the armpit of the galaxy, as the Earth?
That's a good way of expressing it. Yeah, it certainly feels like a gem. Some people call it a grand experiment where many different extraterrestrial, highly advanced beings, the genetists, were allowed to come here and start multiple experiments to support evolution of source consciousness in lower densities. And so many of us feel connection to those ancient times. Through regressions, I would have had multiple people returning to witnessing what it was like when life on Earth was seeded, even before human consciousness was here, where they just were coming here to work with the Earth herself, kind of building the biosphere of the planet. I'm talking millions of years ago. That occurred in regressions. They felt like these just highly advanced beings. They knew what they were doing. It felt like they were part of the elements, part of the fabric of the universe, and they just came here, landed, did whatever they had to do, left again, came back a few million years later, seeing the progress. So, yeah, grand experiment.
Do you mean that in the sense like in Peru, in Egypt, in Cambodia, and other locations where there certainly seemed like there was advanced civilizations?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're sprinkled all over the globe. Yeah,
right. So they came and they left, and then they came, and then now they're checking back in on us. We're not doing so great, right?
In alignment with the universal laws. Yeah. Go ahead, Lexi.
I know. I'm like, no, I have something to say about that. That was going to be one of my other questions. So at any point, are they just like, no, I'm sorry, you guys you royally messed this one up. And so we're just going to bring it all back, bring everybody back to places, back to one, let's start again. At what point do our galactic families say, yeah, you're right, it is hopeless. You humans, or whatever you're experiencing as human forms, you have messed up the love experiment to the point that it is beyond repair. Is it ever hopeless? Will our star families ever give up on us?
Well, there has been a couple of regression stories where it seems that they were taken into the future of Earth that already happened, that look like we destroyed the biosphere, we destroyed the environment, and it didn't look pretty at all. We kind of just almost went extinct. But what was also shown, that it is repairable, that we can go back in time. And I have to say, I've met many people who feel like they came back from future to to make a different choices to avoid that timeline. And it was now good maybe 3-4 years ago where I had conversation with many people that at the same time felt like we actually now are on the whole different timeline. Now we are past the risk of getting there. Like that's now no longer necessary to worry about. We're actually on a much higher frequency timeline and heading towards a different ending. So there's been many reports like that where, okay, so if something like that, if the worst case scenario happens, because we are working with highly advanced civilizations and we are talking with higher density beings that are not bound by time and space, which is bound by gravity of a planetary body, it is possible to time travel. And there are so many different stargates and entry points throughout the Earth created with crystals and all kinds of technology that enable us to do that. So many stories in QHG sessions. There was literally what we know as the Starseed Envoy program, where they were, and I've witnessed it, and it's always so fascinating to watch, where a person was shown just snippets of multiple incarnations, literally just to be shown that they had to be shown certain eras throughout human history to really understand the way the collective consciousness operated and where it was heading, so that they can be the change maker in certain timeline incision. So it was like, it always felt like we were just planted into these different timelines in order to change the outcome for the better. And the better outcome, I believe, is greater harmony and connectivity, not just with planet Earth, but with the entire cosmos. I believe that's kind of the evolutionary force. It always wants to have kind of maintain the harmony and connectivity. So I believe that's very much like a lot of us are those types of souls where you came, you had to have multiple incarnations and then be here to do the right thing to support the changes that are here. And astrology certainly backs it up as well. That was another most amazing puzzle piece for me, particularly to just tap into the patterns of astrology that were validating these stories with something that's tangible that you're looking at. It's like a language that once you learn it, oh my God, the stories that are written are fascinating, you know. So for me to see people who have no clue about astrology spontaneously regressing to all kinds of stories where it's not me telling them where they have to regress to, I'm simply creating a safe, calm, peaceful environment where they can allow their own higher self to take them to the most appropriate place. Like that's the sentence that I would repeat through every new experience that they go into in hypnosis. Whatever is the most appropriate experience for you to happen to find answers and healing that you're looking for. Like that's the key sentence. And then their own higher self starts showing and revealing the stories, which I then look at their astrology and see the patterns of the previous incarnations being validated through zodiac signs and planets that are kind of the archetypes of the frequency they were experiencing in those previous incarnations. So that just totally blew my mind, and I couldn't stop looking for more.
Can you give us an example of how a pattern might appear in someone's chart?
Yeah. So, for example, in astrology, we have something called lunar nodes, which express our journey through multiple incarnations. Or if you only want to look at this one lifetime, the energy that you embody and express in your early years, then how you kind of shift to the polar opposite of that energy, and then eventually merging the two archetypes together to have the most aligned kind of human experience. So we have 12 zodiac signs. They all have different archetypal energies and how they express themselves through our human experience. And we also have 12 houses, which each represent different life areas that we experience during our incarnation. So if the south lunar node, which expresses the past experiences, for example, was in Aries, and in 10th house would be about public service, very strong focus on ambition and goals and status. So that person would regress spontaneously to past incarnations where they were a military leader. Aries energy of, can be connected to military because it's ruled by Mars. So, in combination to that as one example. Or someone, and in this lifetime, so they would have been shown multiple lifetimes where they've been more operating from me, myself, and I, what's best and most important for me, and then worrying about everyone else, making decisions that didn't really consider others' feelings. And then they were shown that they cannot continue that way anymore. It's way out of balance. They have to, in this incarnation, learn the interpersonal relationships, caring more about other people's feelings, really the polar opposite of the experience. So in their incarnation now, first, they would realize, oh my God, that's why I was born into family that is so tight and everyone is involved with everyone's feelings. And I'm really learning about this other side of Aries, which is Libra. So as one example, and there were so many just like that. So that kind of helped me understand, okay, lunar nodes are really a powerful way of kind of reflecting on where we came from and what's the pattern, what's the theme of our entire soul journey through multiple incarnations. So there is a pattern of what we want to achieve as a soul over multiple incarnations, not just one lifetime.
So if we look at our charts, let's just say we pull Lexi's chart, that particular chart, like the whole house or the Placidus, excuse me.
Placidus, yeah.
Thank you. That will not be the correct chart, right? To really understand your galactic background.
So in galactic astrology, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My nodes, my south node is in Pisces, north node is in Virgo.
Oh, very good. So if I had clients with that lunar node, usually they would regress to a lifetime where they were exploring, connecting to higher consciousness. They would have been seers, psychics, guides, depending on the house that also shows, or they would have been nuns. They would have spent lifetime in a convent, monks, kind of just, thinking about the meaning of life and exploring all that. Whereas in this lifetime, they're shown they have to learn to be practical and kind of bringing that higher wisdom into everyday experience where they can manifest things in alignment with guidance from their higher selves, from source. So finding good balance between tuning into all that is, feeling everyone's motivations and energies, but applying what they are getting intuitively to current life experience in a practical, meaningful way that can help others and themselves navigate the life.
So what would her galactic background be? Does that reflect her planet?
The kind of the upgrade from the traditional astrology, which looks at the planets and other celestial bodies in our solar system, galactic astrology adds stars also in connection to planets and how that impacts our consciousness. And not only that, also black holes, nebulas, other galaxies, and how that impacts us. So we would have to put the natal chart into our website, galacticastrochart.com, to see which of the most commonly known fixed stars that we selected for the purpose of this calculator, or the supracosmic points like the galactic center and beyond, was any of that in direct alignment or in some aspect to the natal planets for Lexi. And then that would tell us a story of connections to other star systems or other places.
Do you start?
So I cannot tell based on the information you gave me.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, is if our basic charts kind of give us a little clue to our galactic backgrounds, but we really need to have that other information available.
Not really, unless you know which degree is connected to which star. You know, you can learn that over time, but it's easy to just plug it into the free calculator that people can access on galacticastrochart.com, and they can find for themselves everything that has been aligned on the day of their birth, or time of their birth, rather.
Is the planet that they were on previously probably one of the most impactful planets or one of the most impactful lifetimes?
So it's more complex than that, and that's why we in galactic astrology, the way I teach the practitioners that do the soul readings is we also focus on developing intuition and psychic ability to tune into soul records, because some charts are very obvious where certain star system really comes out strongly and is very dominant, where like, yes, this is the, I don't know, whichever star system you want to say, like this is 100% clearly from the chart. When you look at it, you come from the star system, or you are mostly influenced by the frequency of that star system, and it manifests in a very particular way in this incarnation. But what I seem to be attracting a lot is what I call multi-galactic starseeds, where we have souls that are so ancient that they travel through many different star systems and incarnated in many planetary bodies. So what we then do, just like how I was taught by Dolores Cannon to in hypnotic regression, to just focus on retrieving stories that are most relevant for the client's well-being at this time, we do that same thing when we're trying to delineate infinite amount of data in a galactic astrological chart. We just want to extract what is most relevant at this time. So we also look at the current transits, and we see which star system is in alignment, kind of activating certain star system from the natal chart. So you focus this year only on kind of recalling or integrating the frequency of the Pleiades, or in the month of May when Pleiades is conjunct the sun. Then once that is passed, we look at what other star system is in alignment, so that it'll become easier for you to recall or integrate your gifts and qualities from another star system. So it's a journey that takes a long time to go through, and it probably never ends, because what I'm learning is that once I understand certain layer of astrology, something clicks and there's another layer, and it's just, I believe it's like a quantum map that is infinite, and it's our own consciousness unlocks the keys to what or how much you can see and what can be revealed through it. So that's why we call it quantum soul guidance, because it's really very complex.
So is there a grid associated with all of this? It feels very geometric to me, and I'm not a mathematical person at all, but there feels like there's patterns, star patterns.
It's geometrical. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very much so. In terms of how can it be helpful for people to, avail of tool such as galactic astrology, from some of the stories that we've witnessed in terms of how it's helping people, is to help them receive validation and clarity about their kind of greater mission or purpose of why they are here on Earth. We focus on the information in the chart that helps them understand the highest potential of their being here. And with many charts, it's with astrology, the beauty of it is that mission is always there, and it's validated through multiple, whether techniques or through multiple angles. It's always there. It's clear once you know what to look for, what to look to. When you understand the languages of astrology, when there is something really important for a person to embody in this incarnation, the clues will be there in tenfold. Like, it will not just be based on one planet, one alignment, but the same story will be revealed through multiple alignments and through multiple star systems. There is like a pattern of, okay, this is really the theme of your story, and not just on Earth, but you are actually playing this same archetype out also in other star system. So when people receive something like that, first of all, they have, if it's aligned with truth, they have like physical body experience of tingles and oftentimes emotions that come through, because it's usually something that innately, but we are conditioned to doubt ourselves and compare ourselves and just dismiss the guidance of the great potential that we sometimes daydream about in whatever shape, way, or form. But when you then receive a validation from something like that, and you see it actually written in stars, there is a greater sense of peace, and you kind of relaxing into why you came here to be. The brakes are off, and you just start focusing on being what you came here to be. So the biggest feedback is feeling like missing pieces of the puzzle were received, and greater clarity and peace and determination to be the best version of themselves.
So did you feel like this is a bit of a happy accident for you?
Absolutely. I really felt guided the whole time, yes. And, not a coincidence that if we look at my chart, my galactic astrology, like it's all over.
Oh, tell us about that.
I couldn't have missed this path, I don't think. Well, for starters, I have a lot of alignments to many, many different star systems. Like there is no one theme. There is a connection to a variety of different star systems and black holes, all in kind of conjunct alignment. So it's very energetically potent chart. And even without it, the way just the planets themselves are aligned, if you look at also the asteroids from this solar system, there is a lot of astrological asteroids conjuncting my planets. The way my nodes are, the way there's just so many. There's a lot of validation to the same story, as I said, throughout my chart. So it just makes so much sense. I feel really, happy and at peace doing what I'm doing. And most of all, at this time when the community is growing, where others are getting what I'm teaching and applying it to practice and impacting other people's lives and just receiving the messages of testimonials that others are getting. It's beautiful. I just feel like I'm holding door to many beautiful, gifted psychics and astrologers that are coming through with deep desire to help others remember who they are, why they came here, and witnessing the evolution of astrology that seems to be very rapidly advancing in front of our eyes.
So what's your archetype?
Well, I have a very strong Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is all about evolution and looking for the next thing. So when I regressed, I also had my own hypnotic regressions, because as practitioners, we exchange sessions, whether as practice or just, for our own healing journey. And the seventh and the last QHHG session I had just before I wrote the Galactic Astrology 101 course was recalling my previous incarnations of being an astrologer, mapping, charting maps and exploring land that wasn't yet on the map. That was the first one. Then the second one was astrologer, tapping into how the stars and planets impact the collective. What were the themes? And that gave me inner permission to do this, what I'm doing. Like I saw that there was a theme of me doing something that hasn't been done yet, or like exploring the unknown. So I see I'm doing it again. So that's when I stopped doubting myself and I just said, okay, I'm going to do this. And it felt great. Never looked back since.
So Lexi introduced me to starseeds, actually. And I mentioned this to someone who's very unfamiliar with it. And they said, oh my gosh, do not tell anyone you're a starseed. So I'm curious if you got any pushback.
On that?
Yeah. When you started doing this.
Oh yes, absolutely. And that's also in my chart, that I'll be facing opposition or ridicule, or through my observation and through my alignments that made me more suppressed in my childhood, where I was just silently observing, not expressing what I was feeling or seeing or sensing. I didn't start doing that until I was 33. And then I resigned from my corporate job and started doing what I'm doing today. Mm-hmm. So it helped me kind of fine-tune my ability to know when to talk about this stuff and when not to talk about this stuff. And I'm actually so glad that you're mentioning this, because what I wanted to share with an audience today was that there's this beautiful synchronicity in terms of how we communicate to others what we know. When you come in contact with a person that is going through astrological transit that is very beneficial for their consciousness expansion, where they're literally, it's that time for them to expand their horizon. You meet that person and something clicks inside you, unlocks the key to higher wisdom, and you will just start sharing with them everything you've learned about star seeds and any other esoteric topic. And the way you will communicate, it'll be just like a really beautiful, wise book. It'll be so flawless, so amazing, and they will really receive it like a sponge, and it will positively change them and kind of support their journey. However, if you meet someone whose time is not to know any of this, because they are still meant to walk the line of kind of denser experience and focusing on something completely else, that lock, that key will not work, and you will stumble on your words. You will not be able to express the exact same thing to that person at all. I have that with my immediate family, my old friends. It's just like, I'm really not wise at all. It's embarrassing, actually. So I just never go there. I simply meet them where they're at. Mm-hmm. I don't have the need to convert them or educate them or any of that. And I think it's so important that we become sensitive and kind of respectful of everybody's timing for consciousness expansion, and kind of live in harmony with that. It's definitely much easier, and then you don't have to be called whatever they call us. But yeah, and so that's one thing. And then the second is the hype of star seeds or extraterrestrial beings. I do my best not to nurture the unhealthy way of kind of needing to identify as a star seed or wanting to get out of here. Like, I don't support that at all. And I hope people who will start kind of observing our community of galactic astrology practitioners, that many of them are featured on my YouTube channel, they will notice that we do our best to stay grounded in the here and now, embracing the human experience, because it really is also one of the most exciting planets to be incarnating in right now. And that message came through many, many QHHT sessions too, that this is a time to be alive here on Earth at this time. There's nothing like it anywhere out there. And those who make it, and when you get out, it's almost like a badge of honors for, first of all, making it true, but the magnitude of learning experience and rapid expansion of consciousness and evolution of our own individual journeys, it's just, you rarely have opportunity like that. So we want to stay well balanced in being human, embracing that, and taking regular breaks from all the starseed hype, because it can get like a labyrinth and a distraction and addiction and all those things. So I kind of want to watch out for that too.
How do people get in touch with you? And then two, I know your Teachable class has been really successful, and I wondered if you would touch on that just a little bit.
I would encourage people, rather than getting in touch with me to gain information about galactic astrology, to maybe seek the practitioners that are listed on my website. There are, I think, over 50 now. Absolutely amazing, beautiful, wise, grounded souls that have a wealth of knowledge, even more than me, many of them. They are exceeding the work that I've ever could have done if I were to continue one-on-one sessions. So there is plenty of resources and kind of human support out there apart from me, that can be found on galacticastrology.com website. And especially if you would like to book a reading of your own chart, because it can certainly become quite overwhelming when you see how many stars are aligned to your natal planets. Booking a session with one of the certified practitioners. And if you have, as a viewer, have a lot of maybe Gemini or Sagittarius in your chart, where you're really naturally curious and maybe analytical, logical, you really want to dive deeper into these topics, then exploring the courses, which also can be found on galacticastrology.com, and start there. And just know that it's a long journey. Like, it's not just something for a short amount of time. It'll take you. And the community is really supportive and very high vibe feeling. So I feel very blessed to attract most amazing people to this work.
So that's one of the things you do, is that you really help support other galactic astrologers by listing them. I mean, honestly, I didn't know anything about a galactic astrology until another girlfriend of mine mentioned being in your class. I also saw you on Pam Gregory's website, or on her YouTube channel, which was phenomenal interview. But it was really a fascinating introduction. And even though I've downloaded my chart, it's just fascinating. It's the tip of the iceberg, really, in my own estimation.
Beautiful. Thank you for that kind of feedback. What I do with most of my time for the last couple of years is supporting the community. It's very interactive, very alive. There's so much happening on a weekly basis. There are amazing consciousness expanding conversations. There are other kind of themes starting to occur with others. So it's just beautiful to have common shared space where we can validate each other's experiences and support each other and see what happens next. And there's also a lot of kind of back of the house maintenance involved in kind of holding space for the courses and continuously wanting to develop them as well. There's always room for growth and improvement as we all constantly evolve. So I feel very passionate about kind of growing together and seeing where it takes us. Many great plans ahead as well. So yeah, we're not going anywhere. Really enjoying this.
So is there anything for 2024 you want to leave our listeners with?
Apart from the Quantum Soul Guidance Practitioner course, which is very alive and really evolving with latest information and latest research that is kind of organically happening through our community, I have been invited to share a presentation for an organization called National Geocosmic Research. It's an organization that is devoted to up-leveling the standard of astrology, making sure that it's high standard and that astrology can kind of regain its respect and name with the general public as well. So I will have a presentation in February and in March that I believe will become available on their YouTube channel for free for a few weeks, or people can become members and have access to absolutely amazing astrology courses and webinars. So there's one in February that I'll do and one in March. One will be focused on the markers in our natal charts that can reveal our extraterrestrial ancestral connection through our family lineage. And what it means, how can it show? I'll share many examples as well. And then the second one will be focused on markers in our natal charts that can show high potential for really expanded consciousness. And I'll also share many examples, like especially this type of work is attracting so many people that have charts like mine packed with conjunct star alignments, but mostly black holes and royal stars. And there's certain alignments that are, when you see them in a chart, it's very obvious that this person will not be only thinking about what to watch on Netflix later on and what to shop and what to eat. They will be constantly pondering the meaning of life and tapping into collective energies and downloading information that is way ahead of its time and things like that. So that presentation will be focused on that. So I hope that people who will watch it and they'll notice some of those patterns in their own chart, they'll receive validation. Oh, I get it, why I am this way. And let me focus on really developing this and sharing my gift with the world.
Very exciting. Really, such a gift that you are doing this. And I hope I can be part of it, frankly, and learn some more. And it's very exciting. It's very exciting breakthrough kind of research and technology, really.
Thank you. Yes, it feels like that. Very blessed that we can comprehend all that now. Yeah.
I feel like I want to ask about
Go ahead, Lexi,
royal
please ask.
stars and black. I'm like, I know we're out of time, but like royal stars and black holes, I guess there's no way to quickly touch on those. How could there be?
Yeah, so there's 4 royal stars known since ancient Persia as the guardians of heavens. They were so prominent in 4 cardinal directions on the sky that they were they received the title of the 4 guardians of the heavens. Each of them is associated with different archangel. And for example, There's one of them is called Aldebaran in the Taurus constellation. If I have people who have this star prominent in their chart, like it's showing through multiple alignments, this person will naturally have inclination to the Archangel Michael without them knowing that this is the connection. So there's a information that is known about each of these stars, their manifestations, and the beauty now is that it's not just me, information that I received many years ago, but now we have a whole community that is also now paying attention to these. And they're like, yeah, this is exactly what my clients are telling me their life journey and life story is. So the frequency of Archangel Michael, not just as their guardian, but also within their own being, feeling as a protector and guardian to others. Like that's one of their missions. If you have frequency of that star prominent in your chart. So, and then if you have a combination of these, plus some of the black holes like the galactic center, and beyond, we find that these individuals have role of a leader, guide, protector, teacher here on this earth in their own unique way. There are so many nuances to what exactly is in the chart and how it manifests, but really almost like a game changers where they impact much greater number of people with their own frequency comparing to people who don't necessarily have these in their own charts. And when I say this, I really don't mean to create a hierarchy here about if you have this, you're much better and more valuable than if you don't, because even the charts that don't have focus on these particular stars, they have focus on something else also just as amazing. And even the mundane seeming lives have a really powerful role to play. Like there are many star seeds here that are very much here just to kind of be the introverted individual that is observing and fine-tuning to the energies, not necessarily needing to talk about them, but they are so in tune that they can feel the certain cosmic energies to come through them, and they actually feel guided, and then they answer the call, they go into meditation, into nature, and they let the frequencies work through them, because many are here just to anchor cosmic energies. And because they all have different star alignments, different stars at different times can literally send the signal and communicate and kind of help the earth with their own frequencies that they're sending. They're collectives of star beings that focus on earth, just sending love. And then they have their own star family, star seeds here, who all they need to do is just kind of living their normal earthly life. But when they're called, they open up as a channel, as a activated crystal, and support the earth. So there's, we all play a different role, and each is important.
That's so exciting. We have to have you back, because now I want to know about the Super Galactic Center. But there's so much to learn.
Yes, it's never ending. But it's good to take breaks and just chill and just be here now and have a nice cup of tea and admire the birds and totally forget about all this.
Yeah.
Because it can be very overwhelming, and the body needs a break because it's a very high frequency. We need to regularly ground to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, and we'll sort of wrap this up. But I know this is part of the reason we have this podcast, is that people are going through a lot of ascension symptoms right now, and that's one thing. And then the other thing is opening up to this knowledge is so fascinating and exciting, and it feels very fast paced to me. And because it's so important for right now, and it really connects us with who we truly are. But at the same time, it's like, dang, I just want to go have a donut.
I'm so glad you're mentioning that. And I really would like to actually, and I can just massage it in that the most important thing really is to practice going within, checking with your own inner being, being present in the here and now, because what's for you will really not pass you. So be okay with parking all this and let life show you if you're really meant to explore all of it. If it's for you, it'll happen at the right time. You will uncover piece of the puzzle after piece of the puzzle in your own time. Because, we need to stay focused on our current timeline, our current role that we play, whether as parents or children or whatnot. Many are here they need to first integrate into the old world so they can really connect with that frequency, so that when they awaken, they can take their environment slightly higher with them. If we didn't do that, then the old environment wouldn't really connect because they wouldn't know us. So like there is divine timing for everything. All good.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And good to know it's all good. And I hope our listeners really feel that way as they're going through their own expansions and can just rest well within.
Thank you, ladies, for having me, for holding space. And I absolutely would love to come back and chat with you some more.
We would love that. And who knows, maybe there's something else we can do together. But thank you, Julia, for joining us. And I know it's nighttime over there, so I hope you have a beautiful evening. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Soul Fam podcast. Be sure to tune in to every episode where we dive into a different rabbit hole of the known and unknown to empower you in conscious living and exploration of the greater universe. We hope you leave each episode with a little stardust in your hair and inspiration in your heart. With love from your Soul Fam.